Friends, how you doing? We find ourselves here once again for another dividend monthly review, now for the month of December. And man, it's been a fun ride, hasn't it? On July 20th, the year 2020, I started this dividend portfolio, and in August of that same year, I started the documentation process of this same portfolio, starting at zero ultimately, $0, and eventually now, as you'll soon see, over the $60,000 mark. With some changes, of course, over time, some slight adjustments, but that's how time works. It just continues to pass, and that's the whole point of this YouTube channel, is just to show you that time does continue to tick, and it's ultimately up to us what it is that we want to do with our time. And hopefully the choice is to have money, and now as my channel has expanded, have a better physique, better relationships, better mindset, just everything, right? Just be good in all areas, but money is one of them, and it is important, and a big component of that for me personally. Yes, it's being an RN and working as an RN, getting my income, and through that as well working for the state, getting a pension, but ultimately a big component of it, for me at least in my financial plan, is having a dividend portfolio. It's my favorite strategy, and it continues to be my most favorite investing strategy. I love it. It's great when the markets are doing great, and it's also great when the markets aren't doing so hot, which is kind of like now. A big old limbo right now. I can't even tell what direction we're going to go in. I'm sure maybe a lot of you feel the same way. And honestly, I know my tone seems a little bright, but it's pretty worrisome. But if you've been here before, it's going to be similar to the videos in the past. We're going to go through the portfolio update with some specific sections that I do like to cover. For one, how much is it that I do fund into my portfolio and how often? What are my current sector allocations and percentages? And just like I've done in the past, I'll go over some of the best and worst performers and just give a little bit more detail once we're in that section. I'll also let you know my current number of holdings. If you've been here since the beginning, you know it hasn't really changed, but I'll go over it anyway. And then what is my current dividend portfolio's yield at its current size? As you know, we do these on a monthly basis, so this dividend yield is going to change. So what is it now at its current portfolio size? And then I'll also go over my expense ratio with you guys. And then I'll end the video by going over some short-term and long-term plans for my portfolio. Just a little update at the very end. What's my thought process at this current point for my portfolio? And then of course, what a lot of you guys love to know, and honestly, me too, it's my favorite part. How much does my dividend portfolio currently pay me in dividends? And as you can see here, we're back as always in the Jesse's cash flow portfolio. Now at the current size of $63,376.87. And time continues to tick, does it not? If you stay consistent at anything in this life, not even just on your financial pillar, just anything, your personal pillar as well. Those are the other things that I'm trying to show on this YouTube channel. You stay consistent on anything, you will see progress. And then that progress will lead to results. It's always been my motto since the very beginning. And this dividend portfolio is just one good example of it. I've always picked a funnel schedule and just stayed to it. And over time, this is where we are. So I'm just really glad. And it's really today when I can look back and just really thank myself for starting. Starting is honestly the biggest hurdle. But once you start, the next hurdle is just to continue. But as you can see here, we do have a return currently of 16.39%, which equates to a total gain of $5,144.57. The return continues to fluctuate, but so do the markets. I know some people who probably have been investing in growth, just purely growth, have seen a big hit. Fortunately for me, and maybe a lot of dividend investors, a lot of people actually do continue to invest in these blue chip companies that most dividend investors do invest in. So because of that, oftentimes as dividend investors, we continue to see our portfolios remain in the green. Growth is another story. So you always got to be careful. Everybody chooses their own strategy. I've chosen mine a while ago, and I'm sure you've chosen yours. And of course, this is on the all-time charts, but let's switch to the, 1 week view. So this is our last week's performance. 0.77% return, which equates to a total gain of $484.97. And then now looking at our month view here, it's in the red to To no surprise, really, the markets the majority of the time recently have been this way. So with the current loss of 2.14% and a total loss of $1,377.94. And then from this point on, what is our last year's performance? It's down 3.63%, which equates to a total loss of $2,090. But if you look here closer, friends, this is just one reason to be a dividend investor. If it wasn't for dividends, my total loss for the portfolio would be, actually, $3,665.61. But because we've earned dividends over time, we've had this portfolio actually pay us back just for holding the stocks. That's how it works. The companies pay us a dividend. We've earned a dividends amount of $1,574, which actually combats this $3,600 loss. And then this is how we get that total loss of only $2,000 as compared to $3,600. So just one reason there to be a dividend investor, wouldn't you say? So just going off our list here, how much do I currently fund the portfolio and how often? As you'll see here, let me just go into the activity section. I currently still do deposit $100 into this dividend portfolio every single week. Before it was actually $500, and it was a pace I was able to keep up with. But a couple months ago I did make that slight adjustment because I'm trying to save up more for a house right now, just because I feel like the timing would be right. So I'm still technically putting away $500. $400 now goes into a high savings account, and $100 now goes to this dividend portfolio. So that's how I've been breaking it up. But this is a fun part, right? The activity section. If you look here, just to explain a little bit, if it's your first time seeing it, everything right here, these are all the companies giving me a dividend. For example, NextEra at $2.62. Every single one of these, Nvidia 50 cents. I know these are small. The Chevron $5.73. But let's see if we can find a good one. Snap-on, Sunoco, VIG here, right in front of my face, $35. And then SPYD, also right in front of my face, a high dividend ETF that I hold, paid me $77 in dividends. It's always my favorite part to look at that section. So now just moving down here to a little bit more of the details of the current portfolio. So this is on the all-time charts, just so we're on the same page here. And we have a couple columns here. It says actual and target here. I know in the videos in the past I've kind of drawn this part out a little bit in my review, but I'll just explain it just as a whole here. This column here, as you'll see as we continue to move our way down, for example, real estate, it says 13% here. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means 13% of my portfolio. 13% of my $63,000 portfolio is in real estate. And then if I was to click on this, I would show you real estate, for example, and it'd be broken down even further into specific companies like Essex, Avalon Bay, American Tower Corp, DLR, and O. And then now to also break it further, and here we also have another breakdown. So for example, O is 25% of this sector, whereas DLR is now 19%, AMT is 19%, and so on and so forth. So it's all broken down and then broken down again. But if a lot of this is actually interesting to you, in the link in my description box, there's always a link to sharing my pie. You can always click on that, and you can go into a lot of my portfolio in detail. Click on that link there, and at your own leisure, at your own time, go through my portfolio if it's something that you're interested in. I know when I first started investing in dividends, it was always kind of nice to compare portfolios. I've gone to a point where I just kind of have this set and I forget it now, to be honest with you. The only thing that I worry about is my funnel schedule, or not even my schedule, my funnel amount. That's really the only thing I worry about. But I do have a current plan. It's like a short-term to medium-term plan. But for the long term, my only plan is to hold, and only sell a company if I do have a reason for it. Other than that, I just continue to hold, and I truly believe in every single company that I'm holding. They're all, for the most part, very respectable blue chip companies, very mature companies, and because of that, it gives me a lot of confidence that they'll withstand the test of time as they have in the past. And back to this section here, so we went over this column, the actual target. So value is of course the value. For example, in my portfolio of $63,000, real estate, this is my current value, and consumer staples, this is my current value, and so on and so forth. And then this is the gain return. This is the one that matters to me the most. I just clicked on it right now to put it in chronological order. So for example, energy is my biggest gaining sector in my portfolio of 134% return, followed by financials. I know tech is always an exciting sector, but because it is exciting, there's always a lot of emotion, a lot of movement with it. It's either doing super well, or it's, just at 3% return. And, if you click on it, just to kind of let you know what I have in here, I have IBM, Oracle, Cisco, Nvidia, Visa, and Apple. It looks like half are in the red, half are in the green. And then look at that. The most boring company, IBM, is actually my best performer right now at 33%, whereas Apple, the most exciting one, is my least best performer currently. But, that's how it is. That's how it is. That's why if a lot of people are invested in big tech right now for growth, their portfolios are probably in the red. But because we're boring old dividend investors who invest in boring stuff and get to sleep very comfortably at night and get dividends, we're here. As you can tell, I'm pretty biased, but it's because I truly do believe in this strategy, friends. If you're a dividend investor, you are here probably watching this video, and maybe if you're not an actual dividend investor, you're interested in dividend investing or becoming a dividend investor. And I highly do recommend this strategy. And even more so, if you have a lot of time on your side. Like for me, I'm currently 27 years old. I do have some time. So now just making our way forward in the video. Let me show you how many holdings I currently have. And I think you did see a peek here a little while ago in the activity section. No, the holding section. Yeah. So here we are, just to give you a little peek here as well of my cost basis. So currently I do hold 51 positions in this portfolio, and it's been 51 for a while. I always give the same sort of analogy of, is that too many that I'm holding? And, that's a good question. But in response, I always say, it's kind of like when you're a younger kid and you're growing, right? You don't want to continually buy a new pair of shoes every single year, especially if they're nice shoes. So for me, I've always had 51 holdings since the very beginning, because I know right now, I knew back then what the outcome of this portfolio was going to be. And it's ultimately to be a multi-million-dollar dividend portfolio. And I know it sounds extravagant to say that, but I know that that's what it's going to be. I've done the math. There's no reason for me not to. I'm going to have the income over time. That's ultimately the goal. And that's my self-talk kind of going in there as well. Like, I know it's going to happen. So that's all I think about. So 51 positions one day when I have a multi-million-dollar dividend portfolio is not going to be a lot. At that point, it won't look like a lot, if that makes sense. And then enough of that ramble there. But my cost basis, if you're curious, it's $60,520.28. That's how much I've actually put into this. And as you saw earlier, there's approximately a $3,000 gain or $2,800 gain here, which pushes the portfolio value to its current value of $63,000. And then a little bit more into the statistics of the portfolio. So the current holdings, as we mentioned, was 51. My current dividend yield, as far as M1 Finance says, is 3.098% or 3.1%. And my expense ratio is 0.02%. This dividend yield is exactly where I want it to be. I'm pretty comfortable anywhere between 2.6 and maybe 3.4 being the highest. Somewhere within that range is my comfort zone. It will fluctuate as your portfolio increases or as it decreases, or as the markets do well and as the markets do poorly. The dividend yield will fluctuate. But over time, I want my average to be about 3% or within that range. And just before I go into, the final part, which is to show you how much I'm actually making in dividends, I would like to just tell you some short and long-term plans for the portfolio. So as you currently know, I'm investing $100 every single week into this dividend portfolio. It's going to continue to be this strategy for about 2 years or so. I'm ultimately trying to save up for a house, and I think by investing or shoveling away $400 in extra change as well over the next 2 years or so, I should have enough for, a pretty good down payment on either a rental property or maybe a house that I would actually like to live in. It just really depends on what the markets look like at the time. But the $100 funnel for now will continue to be the plan. And that, along with my actual dividend payouts, it turns out to be close to $7,000, $8,000 getting pushed into this dividend portfolio every single year. So you'll soon see how much I actually make in dividends every single year. But doing the math, that's about how much I push into this portfolio. For the long-term plan, once I bought this house, I'm going to go back into investing $500 every single week into this dividend portfolio. I'm going to go back to it, trying to push it and push it and push it. Hopefully my income will have increased by then as well, at work as an RN. So I'll also be able to not only push $500 every single week into this portfolio, but I'll also be saving more, hopefully for like a second rental property or more real estate. And at the same time, I won't be in my master's program anymore, which I'm actually paying out of pocket right now. And it takes $1,000 every single month. So it hasn't been cheap. So I have been taking hits in areas that I don't often talk about. One of them is education, but it will be worth it. I think it will open a door for even a higher income for me. And that's ultimately why I'm doing it. Self-investment, right? Self-investment. But now the part that you've been waiting for. How much is it that this dividend portfolio of $63,000 pays me in dividends? How much do I make? Let's take a look. So as you can see, it's the same amount, $63,376.87. It honestly took a miracle to get it to match. Oftentimes we do get discrepancies. It's because you do have to put it in manually into this app here. And just to mention the app, if you are curious, it is called Div Tracker on the Apple Store. I'm not affiliated with them. I've just been using them since the dawn of time for my portfolio, and I've just stuck with them. There's no reason for me to change. I've enjoyed the app, but it's the same amount. And as you can see here, you can see my cost basis as well of $60,500 approximately, and my 51 stocks. So a lot of things matching up, which is nice. And if you look down below here at the composition, you can see that VIG and the second one, it will say SPYD, are my two highest allocations. One at 10%, one at 9.6%, and that's accurate. Everything besides that is all within like the same level playing field, 3.4% or under. No individual stock that I hold is over 4%, let alone close to 5%. And that's ultimately how I like it. That was my plan from the beginning, as I always wanted to be diversified. And so far, it hasn't really been a hindrance to my portfolio. I've just been coasting, and I've continually remained in the green. I know some people invest strictly for growth. I know a lot of people swing on the side of the growth side for a dividend growth portfolio. But for me, the growth that I've gotten is sufficient. I haven't had to stress about anything of this portfolio. It's been very self-sufficient, and I haven't really done much to manage it, which is very nice for me, very hands-off. And now, as you can see here, my actual annual dividend income is $1,960.38. So very, very close now to the $2,000 milestone that I've been trying to reach. I know it's been slowed now because I've decreased my weekly funnel into the portfolio. Otherwise, we probably would have hit it some time ago. But we're going to hit it here pretty soon. Nevertheless, I'm excited for it. And if you break this amount down a little bit further, our monthly pay is $163, which is pretty respectable. It'd be a couple tanks of gas at this point. And then our daily as well, if you want to break it down further, is $5.37. And then our dividend yield here, according to the Div Tracker, is 3.23%. So a little bit different, a slight discrepancy from M1 Finance, which says 3.1% or 3.0, but this dividend yield of 3.23% is fairly close, and it's still within the range that I like to keep it in. And like I always say, it's somewhere likely to be an average between the two, and I'm totally okay with that. And just moving down here a little bit, you can see our annual dividend income goal. It's 98% reached. So like I was saying earlier, my current goal is $2,000 in dividends, and it says in smaller letters down there, if I was to invest $1,223 at my current portfolio's yield, I would reach this goal. So hopefully, within the next 2 months or so, I'll be able to reach it, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's it for this update, friends. I'll see you guys in about a month or so, and time will continue to tick. In the meantime, I hope you guys don't mind so much the changes. I really am trying to expand this channel into growth in all areas. I know I started with money. I did start there. But just over time, friends, I've realized that there's so much more to this life What's the point in getting money, being wealthy, being rich one day, if at the end of it all, you're still the same person with the same habits, with the same pain, and you can't even enjoy it? So that's why a big component of this channel is being good in all areas. Being good in all areas, including finances. I'm never going to forget about it. I really do enjoy investing. It's one of the big pillars. That's why I continue to push this. This series was the start, and it will continue to be here. So I hope over time, you will also continue to expand, like I have been, trying to push myself to be that better person. There's no loss, friends. There's no downside to being a better person, only upside. But other than that, I'll see you guys in January. Have a good holiday if I don't speak to you until then. A good new year. Ain't that crazy, friends? 2023 is knocking right on the door. But I'll see you then. Take care.